obviously, it's been a while since we spoke to the media. It's been a while, or it will be a while until we get an opportunity to talk to you guys again. So wanted to, one, talk about this great signing class that we had, and then two, just kind of give you some updates on the team. Again, there's not a head coach in America that stands up on signing day and says, you know what, we're really disappointed. So, but it's nice that I can tell you how excited we are and have it really resonate. We've signed 21 guys that are, without question, culture fits in our program with great support systems, great families, and guys that are tremendous players. And we're not done yet. We still probably have about 5 or 6 scholarships that we'll probably sign. We're not just going to sign guys to sign guys, but if the right guys are available, then we'll certainly do that. So I did want to do something a little bit different, kind of run down these guys, give you a couple anecdotes on each one, and make sure you know a little bit about them. Chris Adamora is obviously a very rangy safety, played both sides of the ball, had a 300-yard receiving game, and kind of a funny story with him. He actually sent his paperwork in this morning from Mexico City, where he's practicing to play in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I believe it's called the World Bowl. Darian Brown, great senior year. You know, a guy that, if you know anything about Gwinnett County, he was named Gwinnett County's Player of the Year. And that's as good a football as there is outside the state of Texas. Great family. Another kind of interesting anecdote, my first time in 21 years of coaching, when he came on his official visit, committed to us, about 5 days later, me, Coach Washington, and Coach Drayton had gift baskets waiting for us that his family had sent because they were so appreciative of the opportunity to be at Texas. Marquise Caldwell, guy that's committed in July, has been rock solid since. I think when you talk about Kenyatta as well, you're going to see length at those corner positions, which is something that's extremely important. Can play a lot of different positions too. DeGabriel Floyd, what a remarkable confluence of events that have brought our lives together. DeGabriel actually transferred into Westlake High School for his senior year, which happened to be a high school where one of my college teammates actually had just gotten the head coaching job, named Tim Kirksey. And then you take it a step further, and his support system, the Miller family, Tony and Jean. Tony retired from law enforcement about 4 or 5 years ago in LA, helped raise DeGabriel, and they retired early and they still had young kids. They were looking for a place in the country to retire, and they chose Austin, Texas. So credit to the Chamber of Commerce of Austin for getting that family here. And Gabe he's everything you want in a linebacker. He's ready-made as a high school kid. He can run, hit. He was actually a punt returner for his team as well. So remarkable big athlete. David Benda, again, Todd Orlando and our recruiting staff did a good job identifying David early. Guy that can, really, really run. We feel like the best football is still left ahead of him. Plays for a great program in Cinco Ranch and Coach Clayton. He played running back early in his career, so a guy that can really run. Caleb Johnson, again, when you look at this class of linebackers, and linebackers was obviously a position of need for us, they can all really run. And Caleb is very similar to Gary Johnson, in my opinion. A guy that is going to come in and compete in January for early playing time. Roshan Johnson, will be here in January as well. We've got 9 early enrollees, which is exciting in it of itself. Roshan had never made a B in high school until this semester. He's a tremendous leader. I know his head coach, Brandon Faircloth, very well. We go way back, way back. And he told me a story of a game. I believe I'm getting the story right. They had won the game, as P&G did throughout most of Roshan's career, but I think he had missed like 2 out routes or something like that. And so Coach Faircloth comes in Saturday morning, very early in the morning to grade the film. I believe it was like 7 in the morning. He looks out on the field, and there's Roshan out there by himself, throwing that exact same out route into a net, and I think he did it 100 times. So it just kind of speaks to the perfectionist, the competitor that he is, and we couldn't ask for a better quarterback room. When he gets here in January, to have those 5 guys that we'll have on scholarship is, it's a blessing, and they're going to make each other better. I know that. Tyler Johnson, again, great culture fit, great family. A super nice kid off the field, but tremendous amount of nastiness when you turn the film on. And I think, he's a lot bigger than maybe some of the other offensive linemen that we've signed in the past in terms of coming out of high school. And he'll be here in January, so we're hoping that he's got an opportunity to play early, and he's very versatile too. Could probably play all 3 positions: tackle, guard, or center. Kennedy Lewis, really admire Kennedy's, again, great family, his willingness to compete. A lot of guys, in the summer after their junior year, especially with the new early signing period and official visits and all that, a lot of guys choose not to compete in camps in the summertime. And Kennedy chose to come and show us what he could do in camp. I clocked him personally at a 4.4. He's run a 10,800 meters at 6'3", and he had a great senior year, and really love his competitiveness. Jacoby Jones, really credit to Coach Giles for identifying Jacoby very early in the recruiting process, got him to visit in the summer unofficially, which is usually pretty difficult for junior college kids. And Oscar did a great job of staying on him even when he committed to another school, of staying on him and making sure that Jacoby signed with us. And as you guys know, we lose all 3 of our starting D linemen to graduation, so we're going to need some immediate help there, and we're looking for Jacoby to do that. Braden Liebrock, another phenomenal family, back-to-back state champions, so he's a winner. We love recruiting state champions or winning kids from winning programs. Got a lot of length, great ball skills, and you come across recruits that love the show of recruiting. This guy's the complete opposite. He was one of the most highly recruited, highly decorated tight ends in the country, and wanted no part of recruiting. He wanted to go be very meticulous, take some visits, decide what was best for him, and it was over. And we're excited about his development. Peter Pudgy, burnt orange runs through his blood. His sister and his father both attended the University of Texas. Again, another guy that, we saw him on his junior film. We weren't quite sure if we were ready to offer, and we said, come compete in our camps. And he did. I think he came to 3 different camps, which is unheard of, because he wanted an offer from the University of Texas, and he earned it. And again, he turned that into a great senior year. Jake Smith, the numbers speak for himself. He's a Gatorade National Offensive Player of the Year. he can do everything. I mean, he can run it, he can catch it, he can return it, he could play DB if you needed to. I'm sure he could drive the bus to the away games if you needed him to. Multi-sport athlete, excels at lacrosse as well, and so just excited about his versatility. T'Vondre Sweat, one of our longest tenured commits and recruits. I believe he was the first defensive guy to commit. We needed to get bigger on the defensive line, and T'Vondre certainly fills that criteria at 6'4", 285. But he can still move enough to play on the edge and play defensive end. So we think the sky is the limit for him because he's a very good basketball player as well, very athletic. Marcus Tillman, very good program in the Orlando area. Started his high school career at safety, like a lot of great college linebackers do, and grew his way into being a linebacker, and he'll be here in January again to address some of the needs at linebacker. Myron Warren, another great athlete, 6'2", 6'3", 240 pounds, but excels at basketball, very explosive, had 14 sacks, I believe, his senior year, and a guy that, especially when you see him play basketball, you're just amazed at how a guy that big can move that way. And, we consider Louisiana, like in-state recruiting for us, Louisiana and Oklahoma. And we've had a lot of success with players from that state, and we expect Myron to be one of them as well. Marcus Washington, again, in the mold of big wide receiver. And I think we do a pretty good job utilizing big wide receivers in our offense, and Marcus is one that's got great length, great body control for a guy his size as well. State champion as well at Trinity Catholic. Kenyatta Watson, I already spoke a little bit about him, but great family. Dad's a coach. Great technician for a guy with his length. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", long-armed guy that's very fluid in his hips, and you can tell he's played a lot of football. Jordan Whittington, again, is still playing for a state championship. Extremely versatile. Plays wide receiver, safety, kick returner, wildcat quarterback. The possibilities are endless when it comes to him and his usage on our football team. And then Jared Wylie, the last alphabetically, very intriguing prospect from right up the road in Temple. Played quarterback out of necessity, but he's already 6'6", 230 pounds. He runs. He's a no-nonsense, tough kid. Reminds me a lot of, a couple of those tight ends we had early when I was at Ohio State. Just a big, tall, you can tell this kid's going to be massive, but still be able to run, and he's got a nasty streak to him. As far as updating on the
last one, Coach, you missed Tyler Owens.
I did. Thank you. Where alphabetically is he? LMNO. There we go. I'm sorry. Tyler Owens. Well, hard to miss Tyler Owens. At 6'2", 205 pounds, he ran a 10.3 400-meter dash. He broad jumped 11'2" at our camp, and I think he ran a 4.37. And his senior year really caught up to those measurables. You could tell the light switch went on. Had a phenomenal senior year. He's an athletic freak, and we're excited to see him develop. Coach Niver and Coach Beck, found him early, and talked to his high school coaches about his potential, and we got him to camp and just absolutely fell in love with him. So now I'll get to kind of a quick update on the team. Obviously, it's been blowing and going, if you will, kind of 3 weeks. You lose a week of recruiting with playing in the championship game, which, trust me, nobody's complaining about. But it does make it very difficult with, as you can see, most of the top players in the country are now signing on this early signing day. And so, to have 2 weeks to get into all those homes is pretty difficult. I will tell you this, as I said earlier, we're still not finished with this class. We still plan on maybe even 1 or 2 left to sign in this signing period, which ends on Friday, but certainly we'll sign a couple more in the next signing period. You guys should have the injury update on Moro Ojomo and Alvante Woodard. Both were injured in practice and are rehabbing and expected to return. Malcolm Epps was injured prior to the Big 12 championship game and will not be back until the spring. We had 2 young men decide to transfer into Neil Carter and Mike Williams. We wish them nothing but the best and success in their career. Outside of that, we've managed to get 5 practices in. We've split our bowl preparation up into 2 phases. The first one being develop, to coincide with our 2 catch words of our entire 2018 team, where again we practiced Friday and Saturday after the championship game, and then Friday and Saturday the following week, and those were really about getting better. A lot of scrimmaging on the Fridays because it was a coordinator's practice, as we call it, as the assistants were on the road. So a lot of scrimmaging, developing your football awareness, developing your craft in an 11 on 11. Excuse me, that's harder to say than I thought. In an 11 on 11 setting to hone your craft and get better in those situations. Then when the assistants get back off the road on each of those Saturdays, had a lot more individual time. So it was hone your craft, your technique, and develop in that area. And then just this past Tuesday, once we got off the road, we spent Monday game planning for Georgia, and then Tuesday started phase 2, which for us was finish. So that phase will carry us all the way into to the bowl game, and that's all about winning a game. That's scout team work. That's game plans. That's all the things that would go into a normal game prep deal, and in order to finish the season the right way. But our players, it was good for our players. We've had multiple guys that have played over 1,000 game reps. That's a lot. When you're in as many one-possession ball games as us, there's really not a whole lot of time to get your 2s and 3s in. So we've had a lot of guys play a lot of football, and we needed to get our bodies right, and our guys really took advantage of that. The guys are having fun. They're having a blast being around each other. Obviously, finals is winding up, so that's not fun. But they're excited about the bowl game. We had just had our senior banquet Sunday night where we honored this amazing senior class. It's one, and I told them this, one that'll be remembered for, turning this program around and taking the next step in this program's development. And, we wanted to thank them for it. And then lastly, we know that we've got a tremendous game ahead of us in the Sugar Bowl against a tremendous opponent in Georgia. You look at on both sides of the ledger, I think they're in the top 20 in dang near every statistical category on both sides of the ball. So, they're certainly not one-sided. Kirby's done an unbelievable job. They play hard, they play physical, they play tough. And then to have the honor to represent the University of Texas in the Sugar Bowl, one of the most prestigious and historic bowl games in our country, is an honor that our guys have earned. It's one that they're going to enjoy, but we also know that it's going to be very, very difficult work in order to prepare to win a New Year's Six championship game. Questions?
Who's got the first one? Back right, Chip.
Tom, Caleb Johnson, he had a shoulder issue.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that will be rehabbed? And I know you said he's enrolling early, so.
Yeah, that'll be the biggest thing, is getting him here early, getting him with our doctors, our trainers. We think on the positive side, maybe middle of spring practice, if everything goes very smoothly.
The quarterback position, you kind of gone from famine to feast. You were 2 scholarship quarterbacks a year ago, now 5. How do you balance that now, or how do you manage that going into the spring with all that competition? And then finally, the redshirt rule, looking back on it now with the new 4-game policy, how do you think it was managed, and what did you learn from that experience?
The quarterback room is awesome. I mean, there's no, when you got guys that like to compete, it's really low maintenance, and there's not a whole lot of management that goes on. And these guys love to compete. They all think they're good enough to be the starter, and quite frankly, probably they all are at certain times. And so, iron sharpens iron, and that competition in that room is going to make all of those guys better. And I'm excited to watch the development of all the guys in that room. And then the redshirt rule I thought was great. I really did. I still wish we would have just 5 to play 5, but this was a step in the right direction. I feel like we managed it well. You know, we're going to get another year from John Burt, you know, one of the fastest guys in the Big 12. We've got a lot of young guys that got some experience, but were able to redshirt. And then, you know, we had some true freshmen that, you know, you look at them and their development and where they're at, and, you know, we had to make some decisions and say, you know, is Jalen Green going to be here for 5 years? No, Jalen Green's not going to be here for 5 years. So let's play him on every special team. Let's get him some reps. Let's get him some experience. You know, so I think there was all those different categories of older guys that we wanted to save a year. Denzel Okafor falls into that category. We're going to get another year out of Denzel Okafor. That's awesome. If you remember when I first got here, I was actually complaining about how, you know, everybody wanted to call him a true sophomore last year. He played whatever he played, you know, 27 snaps or whatever it was as a true freshman. So I think it went well.
Stay in the back, Will.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
So you have about 4 or 5 scholarships you said you want to use. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Which positions will those be in, and how exactly will you be going about evaluating and getting into this next National Signing Day period?
Well, I think probably the 2 that we need to find, if available, if there's a player out there that we feel like we can develop into a player that can help us win a conference title and a national title, then he falls into that category. Again, we're not just going to sign guys for numbers, but I would think the 2 that stand out in my mind are offensive line and running back, and we've got our eyes on some guys already, and then I think it would just be, you know, on a best player available basis, probably would be the best way to put it.
Stay in the back right, Jim.
Tom, can you just speak to the fact that about half this class comes from out of state, and just that recruiting coast to coast, as opposed to, you know, previously, I guess some efforts used to focus mostly on Texas. Just Texas's ability to not just look for guys and recruit guys, but be able to bring the Texas name into, you know, states like Georgia and California, and bring those states in.
Yeah, as I've said, and I think, you know, every high school coach in the state knows our philosophy. If there are 25 national championship caliber players in the state of Texas that want to come to Texas, that's what we're going to fill our roster with. When there aren't, when those criteria aren't met, and you have to go outside the state to find national championship caliber players, then it does say something about the respect of the brand that is the University of Texas, and that you know, that these kids have grown up watching you know, some of the great teams and programs in Texas's history. So again, you know, when dealt with a situation where, you know, you can't, where you need to go find that person out of state, it was certainly, I credit our coaches too. They did a great job identifying those, because again, you're not going to go out of state unless you think that guy, I mean, that guy better be able to, you know, be developed into a national championship caliber player, and I think our coaches did a phenomenal job of that.
From here on your left. Danny?
I just wanted to clarify from earlier, do you expect all 5 quarterbacks to be with you this spring?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously with Brecken, Chris, and Charles all leaving and graduating, and you guys knowing that, how much of an effort did you and Oscar kind of put into recruiting defensive linemen?
Yeah, a ton of effort. You know, that was a huge emphasis for us, especially, I think, we signed 4, one of them being a junior college player that we feel like can help us right away. And then you look at Tavondre and his physical maturity, you'd like to think that he could be able to help you right away. So we knew that was an area where we needed to get bigger, and we needed more bodies, and we needed more quality bodies, and I think we addressed that need pretty well.
On the right, Joe?
This is the second year of this early National Signing Day process. You mentioned how it's a lot of work, especially with a conference championship and bowl game preparation. What did you learn this year compared to last year about the early signing process? What was different? And then another question, you mentioned, I believe, after the first Oklahoma game this year, you needed and wanted to add more team speed. Do you believe you did that with the players you signed in this class?
Yeah, I don't know that we learned a whole lot from this year as opposed to last year. I mean, we learned it last year, and it's you know, I think when the rule was passed, you know, I don't think anybody foresaw this large of a percentage of the elite players in the country signing now. So basically all it's done is push our calendar. This is the signing day, basically, and it's pushed our calendar back into the spring and the summer, and you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I do think we've addressed our team speed on both sides of the ball. You look at the skill positions, well, really, in linebacker too. I mean we can, those guys can really run. The corners, the safeties, the linebackers, and the wide receivers, and Darian at running back. I mean, they can really run.
Onward.
Hey, Coach. I'd like to filibuster you with some questions, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
You did mention Sam as far as his health and his shoulder. How's that been going?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me your impressions of where you guys feel you guys stand in the Dallas area as far as recruiting goes.
Great. Yeah, I don't think there's ever a certain area of the state of Texas that is better or worse for the University of Texas, especially with all of our ties that we have on our staff.
And then last year you said that Brian Carrington was one of the best in the country. What was his impact as far as recruiting goes this year?
Oh, it was, yeah, his impact was phenomenal. He did a great job. You know, what Brian does maybe the best is he helps our coaches during the season, right? And you get all these guys committed, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got training camp, you've got your position to worry about, you've got game planning to worry about, and Brian, you know, kind of keeps the commits together. He keeps them engaged.
And last one is, were you more impressed with Jake Smith's lacrosse film or his football film? But you know, seriously, but talk about his impact that he can have.
Yeah, he's an elite lacrosse player too. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason he was the Gatorade national Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's just so dynamic in everything that he does. But again, this is a guy that, I mean, he fits who we are too, from an intangible standpoint as well. But yeah, just the versatility and how dynamic of a player he is what stands out.
Far back left, Chris.
Hey, Tom. Danny asked about the D-line. Was there, what were the main focus positions that you wanted to address in recruiting? And also, more broadly, what was your approach to this class in general? Does it change year to year the way you approach recruiting here?
No, it doesn't. The approach never really changes. It's about relationships, and it's about selling one of the top 10 public institutions in the world or in the country. And then you asked about our needs or what we focused on. I don't know that you ever really focus on anything. Obviously, we've got matrices of the different classes and what the team is going to look like each year moving forward. The 2020 roster will look like this. The 2021 roster will look like that. So I think you look at the three that stick out to me were the defensive line, linebackers, and then receivers. We're losing our entire defensive line this year. Linebacker we've been thin at, since we've been here. And then receivers, we'll have 4 senior receivers next year in Colin Johnson, L.J. Humphrey, Devin Duvernay, and John Burt. So, those were definitive positions of need for sure.
Time for 2 last ones, Nick and then Chip.
Obviously y'all are signing guys that you think can play, but you kind of look for the whole culture fit thing. In that limited time that you have to kind of talk to these guys and evaluate them and see them, how do you figure out whether a guy's going to be able to slide into the culture, or, what's the cutoff of, he might be a little bit too disruptive regardless of how good he is?
Yeah, it's not as limited as you think because, the recruitment of these guys starts, sometimes as early as when they're freshmen, but usually when they're sophomores. And that's where your relationships with the high school coaches, the relationships with principals and counselors and the people that really know these young men, and then you get to know their families and their support system, and and then probably the biggest tell is on their official visit when they spend 48 hours around our players, away from us coaches, and then we have our players kind of report back to us and say, hey, would this guy fit in our locker room? Would you like to play with this guy? And obviously all of these guys got rave reviews.
Last one, Chip.
Tom, obviously the graduate transfer was a huge impact for you this year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate of those 5 or so scholars still out there that you'll be hitting the grad transfer market?
I hadn't thought about it. Anticipate might be a strong word, but I think it's certainly a possibility.